Daniel Dubois is set to take on Ghanaian boxing enigma Richard Lartey in London today. Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Rem Star Says So. This fight is on like Donkey Kong. A fight that I didn't think was going to happen is now happening. Richard Lartey made it to the UK, was granted a visa, and will now be facing Daniel Dubois at the Wembley Arena in a 10-rounder at an all-heavyweight clash. This is a fight I actually can't wait to see. I think Daniel Dubois is definitely a sort of upcoming heavyweight. And you know, he's had 10 fights so far, winning all 10, 9 of them by knockout. And Richard Lartey, the Ghanaian brute, 6'5" apiece. Richard Lartey, I think 15 fights, 14 wins, 1 loss. I think his only loss coming to Ergin Mergin, I think it was about 2 years ago. So it's a good, interesting fight. It's a good step up for Daniel Dubois, who, has been sort of stepping up the caliber of opponents after fighting a few sort of knockover jobs. Then he sort of beat Kevin Johnson on points. Then he knocked out Razvan Kajanu, a former world title challenger. And now he's going to take on Richard Lartey in a 10-rounder at the Wembley Arena. He headlines the bill today. I'm not 100% sure who's actually on that undercard, but yeah, this is a fight that I definitely want to see. As I said, only 1 loss on Richard Lartey's career so far, with 14 wins, 11 coming inside the distance via knockout. They're both 6'5". I don't really know what the reach is on both of them. Richard Lartey is ranked number 2 heavyweight in Ghana and 333rd in the world. And Daniel Dubois is ranked number 10 in Britain and 47th in the world. Because of those stats and statistics, you would expect Daniel Dubois should be a heavy favourite. But, this is heavyweight boxing and anything can happen. Richard Lartey, he is a big unit. He was doing a video, like more of a sort of rant to BT Sports Boxing News channel. And he was sort of blaming Frank Warren for what was happening. Obviously, I'm not sure how familiar you are with this whole situation, but Richard Lartey, he almost didn't get a visa. It was very sort of lastminute.com, and he sort of blames Frank Warren for the visa issues that he's gone forward with. Now, as far as I'm concerned, I don't want to start sort of backing Frank Warren to the hills because I'm not a visa sort of expert, but is it Frank Warren's fault if his visa wasn't coming or if it was delayed? Frank Warren, he's a promoter. His job is to offer Richard Lartey a fight with his fighter, and for Richard Lartey and his team to, get those act together. I don't know. Maybe it was Frank Warren's fault, maybe it wasn't. But what we do know is the fight is here. They've weighed in, they've had their face-to-face. Both of these guys look like muscle-bound, sort of freaks of nature, if you want to call it that. Richard Lartey, one of the few heavyweights that keeps himself in shape. Daniel Dubois, another big, muscular guy. And you think to yourself, if this fight goes to the later rounds, how is this going to pan out? I would fancy Daniel Dubois just for the fact that, he's younger, fresher, only 21 years old. You'd expect that he'd have more in the tank. I'm not actually too sure how old Richard Lartey is. I'm on his box rec right now, and there's not too much information about it. It shows when he debuted in 2013, but doesn't really say much about his age or anything to do with him. It just says he's 6'5" from Accra, Ghana. If I had to make a prediction for this fight right now, which I will, I'm going to go for a Daniel Dubois win. I'm not going to say whether it's stoppage or knockout because at this point I actually just don't know. But yeah, I think Daniel Dubois should take him. But, everybody knows some of these African heavyweights can really hit. Richard Lartey, F.A. Ajagba, so on and so forth. Looking at this sort of fight card, I'd love to know who else is fighting. I know that the fight card starts about 8 p.m. GMT, and I just can't wait for it to sort of start. Frank Warren has been sort of accumulating heavyweights as of recently, and he's starting to build a nice little heavyweight stable that can sort of go forward and sort of challenge what Al Heyman has got. If you think about it, you've got Tyson Fury as the front runner, Dubois, Gorman, and now Joe Joyce. But yeah, this should be a nice scrap. I think Daniel Dubois is going to want to try and take his head off. He's going to want to try and send a message to Joe Joyce this afternoon or this evening, shall we say. And I'm just looking forward to a nice heavyweight scrap between, two huge sort of muscle-bound guys. I haven't really seen much of Richard Lartey, so I don't really know what to expect of him, but should be a good one, and I'm looking forward to it. Let me know your thoughts, guys. Who do you think wins this? Hit like, hit subscribe, leave me a comment. That's the end of the show, because Remstar says so.